Welcome back to this edition of Grizzlies Daily. I'm your host, Melek. And obviously, if you didn't know, yesterday was NBA Media Day for a lot of teams, and one including the Memphis Grizzlies, which is what we all care about right now. Sorry this is a late upload. Things happen. Things got in the way. But we here, and you seeing it. So, a lot to take away from Media Day. Let's just get straight into it. We just gonna try to speed run this because there's a lot. And shout out to my guy Matt Enfield for taking notes on everything that happened at Media Day. So let's just jump straight into it. One thing to note: Zach Kleiman, he was one of the first people to speak at Media Day. He talked about a lot of things. He talked about Jock Landale, Brandon Clark, Gigi Jackson, literally everything. But one thing that I took away from it. I mean, he spoke about the obvious and Ja and all these things and how he feels about the season. But one thing that really struck my attention, he said that they didn't believe that they could afford Ty Jerome, which we kind of all thought the same thing. But apparently they made a pitch of how well he fit in Thomas Isolos's system, and it worked. And then Ty Jerome himself said that he turned out opportunities that were financially better for a system that fits him well, and that's exactly what the Grizzlies need to do going forward. I mean, obviously you can't compete with some of these large contracts that you get in big markets, but explain to them why, as a player, they would want to play in Memphis. So I'm glad that we got to hear that and figure things out. Another thing, let's see. So, Zach Edey, we got an update from him. He says he's been limited as far as on-court strides because of the ankle surgery, but he's had a great summer in the weight room and feels much stronger. Perfect thing to hear. You need Zach Edey to be stronger than he already is, so that's a very good thing to hear right there, especially in a system that's going to be evolving a lot more pick and rolls. Santi Aldama, what do we hear from him? Basically, he said that right here. He says the biggest thing he wanted to work on this offseason, one-on-one defense. Hearing all the right things. Now, granted, yes, I wish I did kind of, see some proof of this because he may have been working on it, but you know how some people like to fabricate a little there. But I believe him, and it's good to see that he's working on that because he understands that his role is going to be very important, especially considering he's going to be a starter on opening night. So, good things to hear from him about that. Looking at this, looking down the line, Jock Landale. I like the answers that he gave. He seems to be fitting in pretty well. He said that he thinks he'll be a great fit in the system because he actually started his career around the time that, I might be reading this wrong, but basically he was in Europe around the time that Isolo was just starting out as a coach. So they essentially kind of been bonding well beforehand. All right, who else we got? Jalen Wells, right here. He says that he will be face guarding a little less, but that won't change how he plays defensively because he's still going to try to guard the team's best player because he loves that kind of battle in him, and I love to hear that because he really is one of the best defenders in the league, inside and outside. He just got to get his credit. We heard from KCP who says that who gave a very good quote for his role as a veteran. A lot of times with young guys, showing them the way is almost better than saying it to them. That's the kind of leadership the Grizzlies need and they've been looking for. Vince Williams Jr., he says that his body feels great, so he's around 90% right now. I got to be honest, don't know exactly what he was dealing with, but it's good to see that he's recovering at least. Zach Kleiman spoke on Gigi Jackson and basically said that he's going to be he's basically said that Isolo has been a wizard in his impact. Gigi Jackson said Isolo has been a wizard in his impact on him, which is good because, like I told y'all, this is a big year for Gigi and Vince. So good to see that right there. Just making sure there's nothing that I missed. It seems like the coach staff was really working with some of the guys that really needed development, so that's something good to see right there because there's a lot of things these guys needed to work on, and seeing them, really embedding it into the system, that's a good sign to hear. I believe that may be it. One thing that I did get from this, though, all right, I think that's it as far as like the nuts and bolts. But one thing that I did get from this, Isolo seemed very confident, and I see why. I see why it was an easy choice for Zach Kleiman to just instantly go with him as the next head coach. Now, granted, I do think Zach Kleiman put him in a terrible position to start out, but hey, things change, and here we are now. So shout out to Isolo. I'm actually very excited to see what he brings to the table, and I think this is a system that could work in the long run. Honestly, everybody wants to be the blueprint like OKC, and I think the Grizzlies are setting themselves up in a good spot for that. So shout out to them. Now, individual things. John Morant, man of the hour. We heard from him at Media Day, just kind of talking about things, and he said everything that essentially we would want to hear. One of the things was that he absolutely loves the system, which is no surprise to me because if you watched a few games where Isolo was the coach, you could see that they really wanted to play around Ja and make the system around here, and we saw that. And we saw it work out. It's just the others really just couldn't get going because of that. So hopefully they tweak that a little bit more and everybody can play their role. But Ja Morant seemed like he was very excited about what this season could bring as far as himself and the team. One of the things that he also mentioned, Ja Morant, his goal for this year, because I've mentioned it multiple times, in order for Ja Morant to really make an impact, he has to play a lot of games more than what he usually does. And one of the things that he said, his individual goal is to play 82 games. Now, the only thing about that, I love the energy, but the only thing that I have about it is he may have to switch his game up just a tiny bit. I will say Ja Morant's a little bit reckless on the court. Not saying like himself, but he just sometimes the way he drives to the basket. So hopefully he changes that up. But I think as long as he does that, he should be healthy more than anything. Another thing to know, he is 190 pounds now. That's a good thing. Him being in the gym, that's a good thing right there. And one other final thing that I have it right here. As soon as I find it, we're doing this on the fly because it is a lot. It's a lot of information for Media Day, y'all. But I have it all like noted kind of here. But yeah. Oh yeah, another thing. Ja Morant talked about his long-term legacy in Memphis, and like I said, he wants to have a legacy throughout not only the team but the city as well. So one thing about it, if you don't know what that means, don't listen to these trade rumors. Our boy is staying here. He's not going nowhere. Love to hear that. Very happy to see what Ja brings this season. Now, Cedric Coward. This is a guy that we didn't have the luxury of watching the Summer League, but we have heard good things about him and what he brings to the table from Washington State, especially recovering off an injury and things like that. But I didn't think we would hear the things that we heard during Media Day for him, if I got to be honest. So when it comes to Cedric Coward, we heard from Scottie Pippen Jr., who said this right here: I feel like Cedric can guard every position on the court. He moves like a point guard defensively. Now we already knew that he was a great two-way player. So hearing that kind of reassurance is very good. If you need more reassurance, Jalen Wills talked about Cedric Coward and basically said that he was jealous of everything regarding this guy, and that's something that I'm really looking forward to. The Grizzlies really are really going to look for him to be impactful, and seems like it's going to be like that pretty early on. And I like Coward's mentality. He says that he's ready for the moment. He's really like he's Grizzlies made. So that's something that I really look forward to seeing from him. I mean, like I said, the praise that he got, even for me, it's like, okay, the work that we're seeing it's much more than that. So I wouldn't be surprised midway through the season, Cedric Coward, he takes off. I genuinely wouldn't be surprised. That's the best case scenario. Very versatile guy who can do everything on the court that you ask of him. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Grizzlies threw him in the fire like that. Like I said, I'm actually kind of excited. At first, y'all remember the last video, I wasn't really excited, but now I am excited. I don't know. That's just the luxury of the NBA. If y'all can tell, I'm ready for basketball to come back. All right. So that's that. Everything Media Day wise. Now, before I get the comment on it, because I know I'm going to get a comment on it, Jahmai Mashack, let's explain the situation. So he's not on the training camp roster, but before we jump the gun, there's actually a very good reason why, and this is explained by John Roser, who is a producer for the Chris Vernon show, basically working for Grind City Media. So he says, and this is him quoted on Twitter. He says, "My understanding is if the Grizzlies sign him on the 21-man camp roster, they would have to waive him at the end of camp to get down to 18 players, 15 full roster, and 3 two-way contracts, and would lose their rights to him. That means another team could sign him to a two-way or standard NBA contract. By keeping him off the training camp roster, the Grizzlies maintain Mashack's draft rights, and another team cannot sign him to a two-way or standard NBA contract. Mashack will likely be on a standard Grizzlies. He'll likely be on a standard G League contract. It's always possible a Grizzlies two-way spot could open up some point this season, and that perfectly explains it right there. So when we see these things, it's a reason why. So essentially, if the Grizzlies decided they didn't want to keep majority of those guys that's on on that training camp roster, like the ones that we saw in the summer league, like Tyler Burton and them, they would essentially get waived and any team can pick them up. That's the last thing you want with a guy like Jahmai Mashack, because the Grizzlies are still big on him. He just needs a little more development. And I think once he gets like maybe a year or two in the G League, really a year, I think he should be good for the limelight. But hopefully that added some much needed context, because I know some people really wanted to know why he wasn't a part of this part of the training camp roster, but it's a reason why. It's just the way the NBA operates, and the Grizzlies don't want to lose their chance at having a very good player for the near future, and essentially pulling what the Lakers are pulling and giving up good talent. So good job by the Grizzlies on that. Glad we got the clarification when it comes to that. Now, obviously, there's a lot more when it comes to media day that we're going to talk about this week, because preseason starts next Monday. So, yeah, can't be I'm very excited, and open practice is Saturday, so don't forget that. But that's going to wrap this edition of Grizzlies Daily. I really appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure to leave your comments below if you got any. I'll read them all, and we'll talk about them. If you like this video, like it, subscribe, turn on post notifications so you get notified when the next video comes out. And that's for this edition. I'll be signing off. I'll see y'all in the next one.